Call halal yullah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh. All praise, glory, and honor be to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone. Shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel, or the actual elect of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native American Indians, and the speckled bird who might look like the other nations, but are truly the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Also, Abad Babal, destruction to Babylon the Great, aka America, as written in the scriptures. Since its inception, America has been built off the blood, sweat, and tears of slaves, starting with the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians. Under the rule of Esau Edom, the red man who the world called white. The banking families of the Rothschilds and all the other prominent figures of Esau Edom that rule your money, your cattle, your religious groups, your governments, the assimilation, this system. You are a slave if you have a SS number. And even if you don't have an SS number, you're still subject to doing things that go against the laws, statutes, and commandments and judgments of Yahweh, Yahweh Shah. And I'm pulling up this clip right here to let you know they've even spoken against themselves and letting the truth come out. Because you got a lot of these younger Edomites that have actually, been around Jake, or just starting with the music, have a sense of how unfair Israel has been treated, and they have some kind of a form of compassion to a certain degree, because it's written, even if they do good, they do it unwillingly. They don't know why, but somewhere in their conscience, the Lord is like, hey, this is the truth. So they come out and they make videos about what's really happening behind the scenes, according to how this system is being ran. Let me pull up a scripture from Wisdom of Solomon 5, verse 1. Then shall the righteous man stand in great boldness before the faces of such as have afflicted him and made no accounts of his labors. That's why in this truth, you have men ranging from the ages of 12 to 60. Even some surpass 60. Standing in great boldness before the faces of such as have afflicted him and made no accounts of his labors. I was talking to someone not too long ago. I ain't gonna put nobody out there, but it's an older man in his 50s, I would say, probably late 40s. And he works at this, I'll say he works at this establishment where he's been working for them for 30-something years. And when he got to a point where I think he was going to be like a 20-year, 30-year, 40-year, a 30-year, a 20-year, a 30-something year anniversary. I didn't dig too far into it. He just was talking. But his point was, or my point is, he said when he got to a certain level to where he was about to start getting benefits, like bonuses, a high number of bonuses, they found a reason to let him go. And even though he went off and did his own thing for a while, he decided to come back to that company, and he had to start all over again. So after 20-something, he's been working there for like 30-something years. So after 20-something years, when he's about to get his benefits, they cut it off. They found a reason to keep him from enjoying those benefits. And he's from the tribe of Issachar. I'll put it that way. I'd say from the tribe of Issachar. See if I can find the scripture that just entered my mind. The water Yahweh Shah. Ecclesiasticus 14:7. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwittingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. That's what this Issacharite man told me. 50, 60-year-old Issacharite man told me. And if he doeth good, he doeth it unwittingly, and at the last he will declare his wickedness. At the point where this man was supposed to receive benefits, cut him off. The same thing they're doing with everyone around the whole world. Esau, Edom. The wicked. We're going to get to it. I'm going to let this video play though. And this is for educational purposes only. This is not for advertisement. I do not have a channel where I can receive monies. This is not a monetary gain. This is only for educational and edifying purposes only. With that being said, let's get into it.
When Franklin D. Roosevelt signed the Social Security Act in August of 1935, he hoped that he could offer millions of elderly retirees a safety net. However, today, Social Security pays out more than it takes in and costs an eye-watering $1 trillion every single year just to run. In fact, nearly a quarter of every single tax dollar goes towards paying Social Security. This would all be bearable if Social Security at least took care of the elderly as it promised. But Social Security is quite possibly the worst investment one can make, as it doesn't even give back what one puts in. So, here's why Social Security is the biggest scam in US history. Before we dive into why Social Security is a horrible investment, let's first take a look at the state of the program itself. For many decades now, funding Social Security itself has not been an issue. We did see some Social Security benefit cuts as well as higher taxes during the Carter and Reagan presidencies in the late 1970s and early 1980s. In the early days and for the past couple of decades, Social Security has actually been profitable. But instead of investing and growing this money to pay out beneficiaries in the future, this profit was loaned out to other government sectors. For decades, this wasn't a problem, but as the baby boomer generation is retiring, we are seeing a large influx of beneficiaries and a sharp reduction in contributors to the fund. The Trump administration,
For instance, how many billions did they use in the war over there in Ukraine? And since the 70s, okay, I'll put it this way: since Theodore Roosevelt signed that piece of paper, how much money have they used and invested in war? Period. Taxpayers' dollars. That's not going back to the people that's paying the taxes. When you get a job, you fill out a form, and it tells you about how much money or taxes, who's in your household, and that determines how much money you get back based on how much money you make. And they when you get your check, which now you don't even get paper check anymore, everything is going digital. Get it? All roads lead to the mark. All right. When you go online, I'll say that when you go online and look at your paycheck, you see you got Social Security on there, and they take taxes out every time you get paid. You know, you don't even got a chance to give 10% to the Lord, you know, to your tithings, you know, before this devil, you know, why, if these people that's in rulership love God so much, why won't they make a tithe thing to take 10% out spiritually and give to the right doctrine? Your pastors, preachers, and all these people is still hounding you for offering on top of offering on top of offering to make you even more, because they're in conjunction with this simulation to keep you poor, especially the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, but also even the other nations, to keep you in their control. You know, but on that Social Security, that you know, you got taxes, you don't see half of that back. You better see half of that back. If you make, let's put it on a small level. Let's say you make $1,000 a year, just small. Okay, this is hypothetical, you know, really for real. If you make $1,000 a year, you probably only gonna see, at the most, I'll say, $20, $30 back. Out of all the money you put into the savings. So where that money going? Into war. And creating these camps, creating more prisons, doing more scientific experiments. That's where this money is going. To try to destroy Israel. That's their main focus. Try to go into space. Try to go undersea. But the Lord won't allow it. You know, it's written, if they were able to go and beyond the stars or reach the depths of the sea, then the Lord will not remember, will cast, you know, Israel off. But the Lord made sure, and they do their best, all the technology they come up with, That's where all their money is going, because they know the Bible is real. They know the words of Yahweh, which is the Bible, which is Yahweh Shai, is real. If you have the spirit to receive that and understand, when I say Bible, I mean the original scriptures. That's in Hebrew, the Lashawan Kodash.
Administration has confirmed that at today's burn rate, Social Security benefits will have to be cut at around 2035, unless of course Social Security taxes are raised even more. But more importantly, Social Security has been stealing money from citizens for decades, as it usually doesn't even pay back what was put in. Wait a minute, I thought we just discussed that Social Security has been paying out more than it's taking in. So how could this also be true? Well, here's the thing. The way Social Security works is that people who are working today are essentially paying for the Social Security checks of the current senior citizens. And when these guys retire, the younger generation will pay for their checks. The problem is the recent influx of Social Security beneficiaries, which now stands at 64 million people. This shouldn't be a problem if the funds were managed well over the past few decades, as the excess funds collected back then should easily be able to pay back these retirees. But as this was not the case, not only is Social Security money being drained at a pace where benefits will be slashed, but also these beneficiaries are not even getting back what they put in. In fact, the Heritage Foundation found that the average beneficiary received a solid negative annual return of negative 0.04% to negative 14.53%.
Wow.
So essentially, the average person would receive about how much they put in over 40 years at best, or lose up to 15% per year. Even getting back your full investment is terrible, as Social Security is not cheap. Social Security tax is an unexemptionable tax for basically everyone. Yes, Social Security tax does not apply past $137,000 per year and for government employees. But that's because government employees have government pension plans, which are basically the same thing. This is not the issue though. The issue is that even minimum wage workers are required to pay 6.2% of their income to Social Security. And that's just the worker side of it. The company also has to pay 6.2%. Of course, the company is just going to pay employees less to make up for that. So really, Social Security costs the average person 12.4% of their gross income every single year.
And why do you think it's a crunch? It's a crunch to the point where they can't give you overtime. After 2020, they can't give you overtime. If you end up making overtime, it's because the Lord, period, point blank. And it's funny. I just did a lesson. I need this scripture for that right there. I need this scripture for that right there. Matter of fact, I got it open right here. I got it open. I had it open. See if I can get to it. Don't waste too much, take up too much time. Not waste, but take up too much time, because it's not a waste to learn. Study to show that self-approved. It's not a waste. Feeding the sheep is not a waste. Here we go. So lucky if I'm give me 1 minute. Okay, it's not what I thought it was. It's in 2nd Esdras. Second Esdras, chapter 9, verse 10. For such as in their life have received benefits and have not known me. Okay? If you do end up making over 40 hours a week, it's probably because the government or the company you're working for, they're in straits. You know, they need somebody to be their ultimate slave. This man is in a bad situation. People calling out. This is the only man that we can call on. Let's see if he'll come in, and he's gonna go in there and do it. He's gonna make it happen because he's in a downtrodden state. You know, that's why the Lord say, when you are down, when you are changed to a lower state, take it cheerfully. You know, so it's a benefit. Once again, 2nd Esdras 9 and 10. For as such in their life have received benefits and have not known me. You know, they don't know the Lord. Not really. They don't know his name or his son's name. They don't even know who they are. All right. But yeah, my point is, you're not making over 40 hours anymore. You're not getting that time and a half anymore. You know, it's crashing. The world around you is crashing down. The devil, Esau Edom, will come down having great wrath because he know he has but a short time left. For the elect's sake. For the elect's sake. If the Lord did not shorten the time, then no flesh shall be saved. But for the elect's sake, the time shall be shortened.
And that's a big deal, especially to low-income families. This makes no sense, as a big portion of people don't even have to pay income taxes. The average American household making about $60,000 a year for 40 years will end up contributing about $300,000 to Social Security. And I forgot to mention, Social Security checks are eligible for income tax when paid out. But even if you get your full $300,000 back, considering that your average account balance was $150,000, over 40 years, you lost $252,000 to inflation, even at an inflation rate of 2.5%, which is well below the average of 3.22%, in which case you would have lost $378,000. And that's just inflation. What about lost potential? Even at modest returns of 5% per year, with an average of $150,000 invested over 40 years, you would have $1.05 million at retirement. With average returns of 7%, you would have had $2.24 million. And with great returns of 10%, you could have had $6.8 million. So, Social Security is robbing millions of dollars from the average person. But I get it, not everyone is willing to invest and grow their money, and many people like the idea of Social Security withholding some money for their retirement. But the problem is that this is promoting bad savings practices, as many fully rely on Social Security for retirement. In fact, 33% of Americans have saved nothing for retirement, and that was definitely not what the program was created for. Social Security was built as a safety net during retirement, not to be the retirement plan itself. And that's exactly the problem. See, the government defaulting on Social Security payments is not a problem, as I'm sure the government will just print more money or take out more loans to pay the checks. But do we really want Social Security to inject trillions into the economy or take out trillions more in loans? Are we okay with Social Security forcing everyone to pay 12.4% of their paycheck to Social Security tax? And are we okay with costing everyone hundreds of thousands of dollars in inflation-related losses and wise savers and investors millions? Social Security was created in a time period where tens of millions of people lost their entire life savings to the Great Depression. So, helping out the elderly was the right thing to do, despite the program being inefficient. But in a time where over a quarter of American households are making six figures and the middle class is doing better than ever before, forced participation in a program that at best just retains the numerical value of one's money is, in my opinion, a scam. But that's just what I...
Let me get a point. This is you go online to the www.investopedia.com, and it states that taxation is an unlawful seizure of property and thus violates the Fifth Amendment. The Constitution grants the government the right to levy a tax, and this has been upheld by both Philip versus Commissioner and Bershaber. All right. The point is, taxation is an unlawful seizure of property and thus violates the Fifth Amendment. So they don't even care about whatever laws. See the simulation that you are in? You know, but we are slaves at this point in time. Therefore, we need Yahweh Shem Shah to free us. And he has through his word, through his men, you know, the flock of his pasture, the men of Israel, starting with the apostles, the great and the bishops, you know, and the elders of GMS, and on down. Well, with that, I'm gonna get out of here. Once again, call Halal Yallah Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shah. And double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, Barakatah, to the Akim doing the work on the highways and hedges, and Shalom to the hopeful elect of Israel, the Akim and Akwath and the little children, believing in His truth and doing their best to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, and having hope and faith in the gospel of our only Savior, Yahweh Shah. Until next time.